right, today is Sunday, November 21st, and this is the Western Desiderata Extinctionati meeting. And I guess Sophie can start with the reaction of how you feel about the Eastern meeting.
I don't know how I feel. I managed to listen to it thanks to you because you sent it to me, and I listened to it during a quite nice morning, and then things started to change gradually as I was listening to Gary and Lord Hugh, and I started to it's going to take me a long time to process all this. I don't want to divulge what Lord Hugh has to say, but um, I'm feeling very not upset but frightened, and at the same time eager, and at the same time curious and open, but I'm already very aware of the sky and the sea around me. But after listening to that, I just, as I was saying earlier, I already get sort of not hallucinations, but things like that, visions and stuff. I think now it's going to double up after what I've heard. So there's a lot of aspects of what was discussed. I'd like if Lord Hugh would summarize a bit, and also you invited us this morning to go to explore other avenues like the sigil and a manifesto, and also Gary approached the subject of the people who will not survive, or who think that they're in a bad place for any type of survival, and the hospice aspect of our group. And these are all sorts of other things like that anyway. So that was I won't say more.
Yeah. Okay. So Tom was asking. Tom didn't see the one this morning. So Tom, it's really what I was talking to you on Wednesday about. Really. Yeah. My thinking is that we're not going anywhere. So everybody we talk to, it doesn't really work. I mean, like Alison didn't like us. She said we're not a good fit because she thought we're Extinction Rebellion. And Spencer didn't like us, I think, because of the anti-vax stuff. He didn't really understand that. I think he thought we were kind of Trumpists or something. And Darren, I think, pissed off. He had a big ego. But and then Faulty's sort of completely off to lunch. I mean, I don't think he's in touch with reality. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just time to put cards on the table. As I'm trying to be subtle all along and try to let people know that there's some really bad shit coming along, and try to tell people, obliquely about the flippening. You see, my idea was you start an alternate reality game, which is really just a cult or a sect, in other words. And then you gradually introduce it to people about the flippening, in that environment. Because it's virtually impossible to tell people about the flippening, because it's just easier for them to write you off as a crank. It's just very difficult information to to impart to people. I mean, for personally, my family doesn't know about the flipping. Nobody's read my book. No one in my family has read my book. Like, I tell my kids, live your best life. Things are going to be short. But I haven't really shared with the reason why. And yeah, it's difficult once you actually know what's coming. Of course, the big caveat is I could always be wrong. So you ought to fact. I mean, this is one of the things we should do, is just go over in detail, make sure that I haven't got my wires crossed. But it's very difficult, and especially in terms of family. So cards on the table now. I absolutely intend to survive this. And I would like to see as many people survive as possible. And it doesn't really matter who. To me, it's more important that somebody survives rather than no one. It's a terrible prospect to go extinct. I don't believe there are any aliens out there. I believe that this is it. It's strange as it seems, in billions and billions of stars and billions of galaxies, it is empty. It is just strange as hell. But yeah, this planet, the miracle of DNA and what it does is a lot more incredible than people think. Our existence is much more of a fluke, I think, than people know, and it's just an incalculable tragedy to see, you know, humans with all our sentience just snuff out. It's very possible we wouldn't come back. So I mean, no sentient being would exist again in this eon. That's the age of the universe. So that depresses me. I like the idea of humans going on. I don't believe that you can go on as immortals. You have to die and pass the baton on. And we have no future in space. Space is dead. It's empty. It's an incredibly hostile environment. It resembles, is worse than the inside of a nuclear reactor. No, it's an insanity to try and go into space. I mean, because you wouldn't. I mean, nobody looks at the inside of a nuclear reactor and like Chernobyl and says, "Ooh, I want to be in there. That's where my future is." It's like you're mad. You're madder than Joe Madden. Fuck. So it's like, you know, all these imbeciles like, you know, Elon Stark, you know, Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson, they're mad. They're just fucking nuts. They just don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're on this childish kick that's, you know, only suitable for 12-year-olds. But it's very captivating for, you know, people brought up on Star Trek and bullshit. So, yeah, I think people should be told exactly what's coming, and they should try to survive it. I don't care who survives. I don't care if the billionaires survive. All I say, even if the people that survived were complete psychopaths. I mean, I prefer not to be the billionaires because they're such sociopaths and psychopaths. But, you know, rather them than no one. I mean, they could always have kids that were better than them. I mean, the thing about the flipping Gary was talking about is it metaphorical? It's both. It's metaphorical and literal. I don't believe anybody comes through the flipping, you know, a psychopath. No one on the other side. It's kind of a big filter. You just, anybody with a sociopathic mindset isn't going to make it, in my view. You just, you know, anybody with a prepping mindset, anybody with an individualist mindset, you know, the Peter Thiels of this world, and the Elon Musk, they're done for. You know, so. You know, just the way they think and the way they try and survive is crap. But I mean, if you want people to survive, I think there are two things, and this is what I want to explore next. Now, what I plan to do is, if you guys agree, is we'd write a manifesto, an Extinctionati manifesto, where we put down all our ideas on all the subjects we normally talk about, and debate them out and see what we want to do. But I mean, from my point of view is, I would like to survive personally. I'd like my family to survive the flipping. And barring that, anyone is good. Piraha, billionaires are kind of the bottom of my list. But, you know, if just animals survived or bacteria, you know, there might not be enough time left in this universe. This is a bit like what Lovelock was saying, is, you know, we might have come to the old age, the sentience of life on this planet. But, you know, I think that if you embrace the idea that we should survive, I mean, I was horrified, I got to tell you, this year. I was sailing around in a flotilla with a well-known famous anarchist who I won't name. And he mortified me because he said, you know, we talked doom a subject, and he said, you know, don't you think it's just better, all the damage that humans have done to this planet, that we just go extinct and just give it over to the animals? And I was so appalled, because that's the manifesto of the Columbine shooters. If you look at their manifesto, that's what they said. They said nothing matters anymore. Humans are just evil. Just give the planet back to the animals. And then they went on a shooting rampage. And I thought, that is so anti-anarchist. This is a famous anarchist, and underneath, it's just so nihilistic. I just horrified. I just said, no, that just can't be. You just can't do that. You can't go there. It's inhuman. So, first of all, we're team human. All these people are inhuman, and the reason they're inhuman is they've fallen under the spell of the alien cortex. They all become transhumanists and, in effect, death romancers. They don't like chaos. They don't like life, and they deserve to die. They literally will die in that kind of nihilism because they want completion. And you say, if you want completion, you'll get it. Completion is death. So I'm not in the completion group. I'm in the Sherazade group. I'm in the team human group. I love life, embrace life. I want it to continue in any form, especially sentience life. Life doesn't mean a lot if it doesn't know it's living. But I mean, even the fishes, I think, are extremely emotional and full of qualia, and their whole life is feelings and stuff. And fuck it, I mean, I'd be happy if the fish carried on. But better still, all the potential that humans have and stuff, that, man, whoever comes through this is going to be fucking enlightened anyway you like. So, that's my so it's a very personal take on it, and I hope you feel the same way. I hope you don't feel, I mean, I don't think it's right. I don't think it's human to give up and say, our species has survived a couple of Earth flips at least, and we are capable of it. It After a very, very hard time, maybe thousands of years, unfortunately, the small number of survivors will be in a kind of an Eden, I think. And to maximize that, my logic is the sooner the flippening happens, the better. So, this culture is going to die. It's just naturally going to die in a Malthusian catastrophe any way you look at it. The Club of Rome figured that out, that it would be 2020, and they've been planning what to do in 2020. Believe you me, the pandemic broke out in 2020. I didn't think it was very surprising. I knew they were going to pull something out of their hat. I mean, I don't have any proof that of it being some big plan, but like, man alive, it fits. So, yeah, there are various factions that know about the flippening. They're almost certainly the guys that pull, the power brokers that pull the levers. I believe that they are working from that script. So and they've modeled it and stuff like that. So I don't think it's really possible to time it very well. It's one of the reasons why I don't tell my family and kids about it, because I'm running on a couple of assumptions about surviving, and I assume you, as you get close, if you know what's coming, you will see warning signs, right? And you see, it's not something you can run around telling people, saying, "Oh, I've just had this epiphany that Hugh just told me about the flippening, and we must prepare." Basically, they'll lock you up if you do that. You'll alienate everybody. You'll be known as a kook, and it's not a very good survival strategy. For example, for me, if I told my kids and said, like, "Oh, I think the best place to be is in Greece to survive it on a boat," and they came, I said, "Get on a plane, you got to be here." It's like, it might be 5 years, it might be 10 years, and they're living on a boat. Very soon they'd get sick of it and say, like, this flippening's never coming, and we chewing up our youth. You've wasted our lives. So my kids personally are in some of the worst places to be in, very close to Yellowstone and on the East Coast of America. So, I have relatives dotted all over the world, which is a good thing. But I assume, I want family members to survive it, but I think the way to do it is you've got to play it very, very cool. But you see, increasingly, people have been calling me out and saying there's some inconsistencies in my thinking, and there is. I mean, this, like, for example, I mentioned to Gary that I'm quite anti this. I really don't like the the thing where people say, well, you can, you know, collapse is inevitable. You don't have to do 500 lone wolves. You don't have to do eco-charge. You can just sit back and watch it. And I've always said that is terribly wrong. I still think that's wrong. But you see, I never really told them why and stuff. And so saying, you know, this civilization is going to crash and burn. There's nothing anybody can do about it. It can't reform itself. It's like a chronic alcoholic. But on its way out, it's going to be dangerous. And if you, for a number of reasons, I mentioned the humanitarian one, is we're loading people up on this planet just before a really terrible ordeal. So, you know, you for a number of reasons, accelerate. So if you know, so basically, which is kind of inconsistent with some of the things I've been saying, like not do geoengineering. Well, yeah, I mean, you don't want to do solar radiation management or, you know, marine cloud brightening, because that kind of just perpetuates this civilization. This civilization is destructive. Even if it went green and everybody transitioned and they stopped putting up CO2, there's still a Malthusian catastrophe. They're still chewing up the oceans, you know, deoxygenating them, still, you know, moving incredible amounts of earth, poisoning stuff with mining and stuff like this. So it, you know, this, you can't get civilization and clean it up. So it's going to be destructive, even in collapse. Its collapse could be very messy. So the only thing that's really going to stop this, a massive campaign of civil disobedience, eco-charge, any of those things, they can't actually stop it. They can't actually keep civilization down. People will be fighting over the last barrel of oil, even, you know, it doesn't matter if you have green tech and, you know, sustainable energy and all these myths. It's, you know, a barrel of oil is still going to be a ton of energy, and you know, it's going to be valuable to the last drop. So all of these things are going to be added together, and it just keeps the destructive machine going. The only thing that's going to stop it is, I mean, is the flippening. It's, you know, the activists and everybody has underestimated the size of the problem. You know, what it would take to you know, correct this and survive is a much bigger problem than people think. It really, you know, this alcoholic needs to drink itself to death. And so, yeah, it implies some weird stuff, which I think we should surface, and that's that, like, almost anything's good. Green tech is good because, you know, it's causes, it removes the aerosol masking effect, causes global dimming. That's good for 0.6 of a degree. You want the temperature to go up and for the Greenland ice sheet to melt. And because, you know, this, if we have to go through a flipping, and we do, the Arctic tip 20 years ago, I mean, the Greenland ice sheet tip, the Arctic tip, you asked Torsten, the Arctic tip a lot before that. And all these fuckers knew. All these fuckers in the government, they all know that. In the US government and in Russia, they know that. So they're all going through the motions, you know, doing a scramble for the art. It's like, they're cynical as fuck because they know exactly what happens after the BOE. So they just stalling everybody with the IPCC and just keeping at the edge of credibility. But you know, they intend to survive it. They think it's survivable. And I look at all these things like you know, space program and stuff like that. I always see it in terms of these are the guys' strategies for surviving the flipping. But I think it's all good. You know, there's nothing wrong with it because some strategy might work. We're in a terrible pickle because although we survived previous flippings, we had attacked ecosystems, and the problem is, you know, the ecosystems are incredibly screwed, especially the marine ecosystem. So there's like 95% of the fish are gone. It's like that's a serious problem right there, because that's what, you know, any survivors are going to need the oceans and need them intact. One of the problems with the flippening is it's the volcanic activity might cause a deoxygenation of the ocean. So you really want them to be in really good shape. But it's kind of like we in the worst shape we can. We're like a degenerate alcoholic with sclerotic liver, about to go into a fight where a heavyweight championship boxing match that's might wipe out Muhammad Ali. And it's we if that's the case, we're sliding downhill. So the sooner we go into this championship bout, the better. But anyway, that's my thinking on it. And so yeah, any questions at this stage?
Is it worth going back? I mean, I've read your book, and I think I understand what the physics is, but is it worth for just refreshing on what the actual physics of it mean? Is it just literally the Kasparov effect means that the polarity of the Earth flips, and then we have, you're talking about volcanoes and all sorts of things, and I can't remember exactly what the sort of model suggests. Is it tsunamis? Is it, I mean, what's the summary of what it means?
Yeah, so I went over it in this morning's, but I'll go over it briefly. So yeah, it's been known for a long time in a lot of sources that there seem to be cataclysms in Earth's geological history. Charles Hapgood came up with a theory that it's probably the Earth crust displacement, because there are a lot of anomalies, like, for example, the tropical plants and things not only in the Antarctic but in the Arctic as well. And so it's impossible that the kind of fossil record would be left if if it was just warm and there wasn't sunlight. I mean, plants need sunlight. You can't genetically engineer a plant to not eat sunlight, like you can't train a horse not to eat. So the fossil record, Antarctica hasn't moved much in terms of continental drift. So it's always kind of been where it is. So it's a very difficult thing to explain why there's a big ice cap on it, and there's evidence that it once was quite fertile. So there are all these mysteries that, Charles Hapgood came from the point of view of history. He is quite a generalist, but he said there's so many pieces that suggest, this kind of catastrophe, maybe Atlantis kind of thing. And there's strands, there's folk memory, there's geological evidence and stuff. So he figured that it might be that the crust displaces. That would account for the fact that when we look at ice ages, they're not always global, they might be local, and it's because the poles are moving, stuff like that. So when you look at it like that, it suddenly all makes a hell of a lot of sense. He wrote a letter to Einstein, and Einstein liked the idea, but it didn't get anywhere, mainly because they didn't know about they couldn't find a mechanism. You need a lot of energy. You need a lot of torque on the Earth to turn it. I mean, it's like a spinning top, and it's stable, while it's it has a spherical, a spherical sort of equal distribution of mass and inertia. But you see that thing was really quite a good video on it, and it went through the whole thing and said about the Zanibekov effect, right? So Vladimir Zanibekov was a cosmonaut, and then he went to rescue the Soyuz space station, and then he discovered that this flip with a wing nut, that basically rotating body that has 3-axis symmetry, which basically the tennis racket, a mass distribution of tennis, will actually spontaneously twist in this freaky way. It just goes spinning along and then suddenly goes whoop and flips, and then spins along a bit more and flips back. And so he instantly thought, oh my God, the Earth is probably subject to this. He put a bit of modeling clay around the wing nut to see if a sphere would do it, and it did. So immediately the Soviets classified it. They from then on, the US and the Soviets knew that the Earth flipped. So that was the missing piece that Hapgood never got was that the energy is provided by the fact that you have to imagine that the Earth is, through the Holocene, its mass distribution is stable, just like that Veritasium guy said. So here, the Veritasium guy ends on a very unfortunate note. He says, no, the Earth won't flip because it's rotating down its axis of maximum momentum, maximum inertia. But yeah, that's true, except he's not calculating the fact that the third pole in the Himalayas, the Hindu Kush Himalaya field, and the Greenland ice sheet has a huge amount of the Earth's mass, and it's melting, so it's being redistributed. It's complicated because of the rebound effect. The crust is kind of spongy, like a soft mattress or something. But you know, the mass, it's kind of, imagine it like it is a stable tennis racket and it's losing the handle kind of thing. It's losing, and so it's in essence it's changing its mass distribution. So if you model the mass, it looks a bit wonky, like a wonky potato. But as it changes configuration, it will flip. What that will look like, it'll be very dramatic in about half flip, 12 hours, maybe 24 hours, the whole event. But it will be, there'll be seismic activity, volcanic activity, a lot of stress on the Earth. There'll be tidal forces mainly. It's important where the moon is in the event. Modeling it is hellishly difficult because it's all, you know, you have to even get the time of day right in terms of the moon and stuff like that. So, but yeah, you won't go flying off the Earth with centripetal force or something like that. It'll just be, you'll see it from the sun. So you either get a very long day or you'll see the sun migrating. And this is all in the Quran, by the way. But the next day you will see the sun rising in the west, so and setting in the east. So it'll apparently, the Earth will be above around. Everybody in Australia, of course, will be fine because they'll be the right way up for the first time. Everybody else will be upside down after that. So, and then you have to get the Mercator projection, and you have to turn around as well. You have to turn the Mercator projection around on your wall maps. But yeah.
So what's the logic or the modelling, the reasoning behind? I can't remember from your book why that central location of sort of the where you are, that sea there, the Greek Sea, or you know, that part of Central Europe. Why is that a best place? Is it volcanic, likely volcanic impact?
Well, this is one of the things we must discuss, but from the people that know, I think that the prevailing wisdom is the tidal forces and the stress are maximized at, so you know, the Earth is going around its geographical pole, it's spinning around, but when it flips, there's another oblique pole. So you want to be at the flip axis because that's where the tidal forces will be least, the stress will be least, because that's the bit where it's spinning, you know, where it's flipping. So you want to be at the hub of the wheel. You don't want to be at the rim of the flip. So there's some evidence that the flip axis, historical evidence, just the fact that, you know, Göbekli Tepe is where it is, and those civilizations started here after the Younger Dryas. That's a good hint that these people were the ones that survived. My bet is it's really complex. It takes a lot of computing power to figure out exactly how the flip happens and to model it. But I think if you go through the historical evidence, then there's good evidence that Santorini didn't blow up, which is, but it blew up later. So that's kind of good circumstantial evidence that it's a good place to be in the previous flips. I think that the previous flips will be similar. So when the previous flip was to do the mass displacement of the Laurentide ice sheet on North America, the Greenland ice sheet is just kind of a historical relic from the Laurentide ice sheet. It's just hanging on by a feather. But I still think it'd be roughly the same kind of thing. You see, the survivors, the Aryans seem to have survived it. There's a lot of, yeah, might as well talk about the sigil. So the sigil is a wheel that Phoenicians are Aryans. Get over it, anthropologists. There, and the sigil that I presented there is Teth. It's this Phoenician symbol for death. Now it's called, you know, why do they have a symbol for death for a wheel? There's a lot of kind of hints. The Aryans invented a wheel. By India, it becomes the wheel of Dharma. So this, I see the way they see it, or they seem to have seen it, if you look at folklore, is that they thought the flip was a punishment for, you know, hubris of humanity. If it wasn't then, it certainly is now. So yeah, they thought it was a punishment of the gods for the people of that time, so that they thought it was, you know, kind of getting their comeuppance or their karma catching up with them. So this idea of a wheel of karma and the spin heavens, there's lots of kind of references to it. So it's almost like they invented the wheel as a, you know, an afterthought, as a symbolic afterthought of the cosmos, rather than, you know, a practical thing to stick on a cart. It seems to have had symbolic, you know, meaning first, and then become a practical thing as a kind of afterthought, I think. But yeah, so I made the sigil as Teth. It's in essence the symbol in the XR symbol, you know, minus the bar in the top and bottom of the hourglass. But they struck on the artist that did that, the street artist. He struck on the Teth symbol. I don't know if he knew what he was doing or if he did it by chance, but anyway, that's important symbol. Now we said that we'd just do arrows going out, and I didn't like it because it doesn't look very good. It just looks like centrifugal force and stuff, and you know. So I wanted to make it a flip. So I just made the arrowheads. I just made them hooked. Unfortunately, if you do that, so somebody quickly pointed out that well, it looks a bit like a swastika. Well, well, funny you should say that. It's too bad about the Nazis, because they appropriated the swastika and it's filled with meaning. We shouldn't let them get away with that. But anyway, just as a heads up, if you're talking about Teth, it's theta in Greek. They got the letter theta from it. It's like you won't get far away from the swastika. The swastika will keep on coming back to haunt you. There's all of this stuff is a little bit mystical and woo-woo, but the swastika is deeply embedded in all of it. So get over it. If we use that symbol, somebody's going to accuse us of doing a dog whistle for a swastika, but that's the reality of it. Is we are talking about the Aryans, and the Aryans are all about swastikas. So Schliemann and so found those swastikas everywhere in Troy, thousands of them. And it's, you know, it's the symbol of the Jains, and it's, you know, the Indo-Aryans and all of those guys in India. So yeah, it's you just got to live with it. But yeah, Lionel said he liked it by the sounds of things. He said that it looks like a buzzsaw, you know, cutting through the planks of ignorance and hypocrisy. And I thought, yeah, I like that. It has quite a lot of energy and like a circular motion and stuff. So I think it's kind of useful from that point of view. It looks kind of quite aggressive, but I think that's all kind of valuable. There's a lot I could say about the symbology in it. It goes quite deep. But if everybody is okay with the symbol, what I would suggest as part of this new direction for the Extinctionati is that we invest it, right? So everybody takes the symbol and does their own, because we're all distributed all over the world. I don't think it works to do a big investment ceremony. So this is what I'm going to suggest: is that we take, we do our own in whatever way it means to us personally, whatever we feel is a personal way of investing the symbol with meaning. We invest our own personal meaning. So then I'm going to suggest we do it individually and surprise each other. We just go and take a video of our ceremony or whatever action we do to invest it. And then, I think we should individually go to Lionel and ask him to, vet our proposed ceremony. So we give our personal ceremony, what we're going to do for the investment ceremony, take it to Lionel and get him to offer suggestions and critique it. And then we go and do it, video it. You don't have to be in the video if you want to be anonymous or something. Just don't show your face in the video. And then we all post them up, maybe in one big one, or what, see how it comes out. But anyway, we just have a big ceremony, a big thing afterwards to say what we did, what meant something personal to us, and whatever. But what I'm going to suggest is we do it on the winter solstice, the 21st of December, which is exactly 1 month from today. So I'd say think up something, present it to Lionel. Somebody said yay. So present it to Lionel, then on the night of the 21st, or the day, whatever, noon or midnight, whatever, evening, sunset, sunrise, whatever means something to you on the solstice, the winter solstice. It was the traditional day for, the flip in the year. It is the most auspicious day for this. I'm sure at Göbekli Tepe, they had a summer and winter solstice festival. So, that's my suggestion. And that, we'll circle back after it if everybody likes that. But go and think up what you'd like to do. Refer it to Lionel, and then go and record it for the rest of us to see. And we'll do it on the 21st separately, and then post all our videos and show it. But I've does everybody like that idea? Do I have a second? Should we vote on it?
Yeah, I always make a fire on every solstice in June and in December, that night for years, like since I'm a child. So it's a very symbolic night. So it could be, I'd like that. Sounds good.
Well, don't give away what you're going to do. The ceremony can be as simple as you like. Do whatever you like, just whatever. It's, you see, what you're really doing there by investing it is okay. I'm going to get woo here, but it's invest your psychic energy in it. So it must be meaningful to you. Then just by intersubjectivity, all over the world, when we use that symbol, a little bit of that will go into it. You don't have to slash a wrist and put a pint of blood on it or anything like that. Whatever has some meaning. Think about making a sacrifice to symbolic mainly, or literal. Don't make it a human sacrifice or a baby or a dog or a goat. Otherwise, we'll be dead in the water before we started. But think about it. And then, okay, so that's one thing I suggest. Then the other thing is, okay, so I suggested we do a manifesto and go through where we just lay our cards on the table, because I think everybody's just off doing their own crazy shit, and maybe this is our crazy shit, or but I think we should just forget about XR. XR's pile of nothing. Faulty, I think we should just
yes. Forget it. Yes, finally.
yeah. Faulty is, I think we should just tell him what we're doing, and just tell him what we think, that he's going nowhere. But I think once we got the manifesto, I'd like to say, look, because I agreed with him. We all agreed on the way forward. Then they went off and did IB, and it's not working out. They were supposed to have hundreds of arrests, and then next year it was supposed to have thousands, and then we were supposed to overthrow the government in 6 months. And it's like, it's not realistic. It's not getting detached from reality, because the world doesn't work that way. This isn't Gandhi's world. This isn't MLK. Doing a moral crusade is not possible in the age of the metaverse and TikTok, and it's just you're talking a different language from a different time. So sure, you can get 9 arrests, but it's like you're not going to get everybody come out in a moral outrage against brown people having droughts and food insecurity. It's liberals are hypocrites. They're fat, dumb, and happy. They're selfish. Come on, the middle classes and bourgeois, they're disgusting. They are the disgusting ones. So for Faulty to go around and say, it's disgusting, it's like, come on, the middle class is disgusting. The middle class you're going to go out as a Briton in the middle class Britain, you're going to go out and buy a cell phone next year, the next model of the Apple icon that comes out. You're going to rush to go out there, knowing full well that, little African kids suffered and died in a cobalt mine for it. You don't give a fucking shit. So, talking to these people about moral outrage is a moral outrage.
I must admit, I am really disappointed with him, because I thought that, you came to UK, you had meetings with him. He seemed to be taking us seriously and you seriously. And he seemed to be investing the time. I mean, I don't know, maybe I read it wrong, but it just seems like he's just a waste of time. He's just deluded, isn't he?
He did invest the time. He's not really deluded. He's just not in the right time. So he did invest the time in me. I think what it was is he thought I had money. So I told him I wasn't rich, and he looked visibly disappointed. So I think he mistook me for some rich guy on a yacht, which actually a poor guy on a yacht. Not everybody knows that you can actually be a sea gypsy and be dirt poor on a boat. The main thing is he didn't understand America, and so he thought, he needs some help on how to approach America. But it always didn't really work to say, once he achieves this, miracle of, revolution in the UK, then to start mid next year on America, and it's like, well, I said, those tactics won't work. They're not going to work in America. They were not going to work in Britain. But, he's completely vested in this, cutting edge social science of this is what decades of social science has said, this works, and it's Erica Chenoweth, and it's like, it's horseshit. I mean, the left, what successes have the left ever had after Vietnam, and maybe North Vietnam? And that was violent. It was a violent rebellion. So it's like the left has been useless. What has the CND achieved? What did the anti-apartheid movement do? The anti-apartheid movement didn't end didn't end apartheid. Kind of, for crying out loud, your analysis can't be that shallow. And it's like, you know, all the decades of environmentalism, all it did was go and bolster the bright green lies in the green tech industry. So it boosted the stock market, and the stock market is this, you know, fossil machine. So all the green, you know, we just seen $2 trillion signed by Biden. That's $2 trillion fossil fuel. That's basically $2 trillion of carbon just about to be pumped into there. Now, as the Extinctionati, I think we should celebrate it, because that's going to take a slice off Greenland for sure. But yeah, and we should be glad about it. But if your aim is to reform the system, it's like, I mean, come on, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I mean. If he was really serious, if he wasn't deluded, he would have been able to adapt and seen that it's not working. And I thought he was radical. You thought he was radical. He seems sort of radical in some ways, but then ultimately he's just still wants to maintain the system. He's just being softly like go sideways with Insulate Britain, which is just, you know, that's just ridiculous.
no, he is radical. He's more radical than you can possibly imagine. The you know, the Insulate Britain is just a strategy. It's just an easy win. So you can gain credibility and then consolidates, yeah, the XR and the you know, all these kind of deadbeats. So basically, you know, he wants to be king of the crusties, and so he's going to show them these tactics work. And well, they work because they got in the news. They're supposed to get arrests, and then yes, the government's supposed to capitulate and say, okay, we'll do, you know, Green Homes Grant, we'll revive it again, and then we say, see, it works. But it's not going to work for a number of reasons. One of them is that the government doesn't want to hand him a win. They want, you know, Priti Patel wants to hand him a fucking jail sentence. So he's walking into a jail. He doesn't. He thinks that that's cool because it's Gandhi. He thinks, yeah, you know, okay, I'll take 2 years in jail. No, you might do 10. They might. If they think you're ready for 2, they'll give you 10. You know, it's like and then what you're going to do? I mean, Ted Kaczynski is more of a radical than you, and you can't, you know, he's going to rot and die in jail. Nobody's going to do the anti-tech revolution. I don't believe anybody's, you know, there are a number of people out there. There are a lot of lone wolves, and, you know, Ted Kaczynski's thinking is correct. He's not going to, I don't see the anti-tech revolution working because, you know, you can just see the milkmen, say, in the photographs during the Blitz. You know, the guy's ability to carry on doing, you know, normally in diversity is unbelievable. So I mean, you know, the photos I'm talking about during the Blitz, they're like milkmen walking through the rubble. And then you've got these like office, you know, there's a famous picture of this guy sitting in the rubble of his office in London after the Blitz. And he's sitting there, you know, with his secretary sitting on a suitcase, typing, you know, or taking shorthand on her lap. And he's sitting there, you know, standing in the rubble like a good British soldier, you know, not soldier, I mean, businessman, just saying like, you know, oh, it takes more than, you know, a bomb on my company to shut me down, you know. And so it's like, faced with that kind of, you know, mentality, it's like these people are going to, you know, there's not going to be a drop of oil left in the ground. The only thing, I mean, look at all these deluded people saying, you know, like Michael Mann and Hansen and stuff, and Gibbons, and it's like, you know, for Christ's sake, guys, you know, they're not going to stop. I mean, they would, you know, this is an alcoholic that's going to drink himself to death. So it's just like, you know, celebrate it, give him more whiskey and make sure, you know, it's unfortunate. It would be nice if people stop CO2, but you just think, no, the more CO2, the better. So it's like, you know, might as well take funding from Exxon and just say like, Exxon, we've got the best excuse to carry on burning oil is that like, we're fucked, the flipping's happening. you might as well carry on. I mean, look at India and China and stuff. It's like, what, you're going to get them to, Britain? Oh, they're going to, because one thing is Xi Jinping, Pube, he really respects Britain, and he always takes Britain's example, doesn't he? So Britain's going to go green and prosper and show them how wonderful it is to be, lead the world in green tech. It's like, come on, this is fantasy. And then Pube says, oh yeah. So I'll follow your example and clean up my act. It's like, come on, he's gonna. India and China are gonna raise the standard of living. There's the standard of living of a Chinese person is half of what it is of an American. They're gonna try and beat Xi Jinping's ass. Depends on him beating the standard of living of an American. This planet does not support 300 million Americans. And he's going to try and add 1.4 billion people living like Americans. So like, well, that's good. Because in the process, you're going to get the flipping. So right in the middle. So the best thing I was saying this morning, the best thing that could happen is Xi Jinping and India and Africa and that, they go and burn all the fossil fuels. Like, burn the coal, guys. Go and do it. Go and raise your standards of living. Social justice. You want to be a materialistic Westerner, go and knock yourself out. Burn all that coal. You go and be a materialist. You'll find out how fun capitalism is, you fucking idiots. And then say, okay, so you're not, India just said at the COP, we're not going to stop until we caught up with you. Okay, heroes. So go and knock yourself out. Go and get, become the stupidest fucking Rajits, billionaire playboy you want to be, and knock yourself out, because Southeast Asia, you do not want to be in an opening. So have your Tara, melt the fucking Greenland ice cap, and get it over with. That's brilliant. So you get what you want. We get the flipping. It's great. All works out. Even better is going to, burn all the fossil fuel, just take us up to about 500 parts per million. And then stop burning coal and go green, because then we'll lose the global dimming, we'll lose the aerosol masking effect, and then we'll add possibly 0.6 degrees to 1 degree. That'll be great after 500 parts per million, and that will definitely cause the flipping. So it's like everybody wins. It's like, support Exxon burning fossil fuels, support Xi Jinping and growing the economy. It's like, so now you're a rich Westerner, materialist, happy now? Great. Now it's time to die. Goodbye, South Asia. No one in South Asia is going to survive that flip, man. It's going to be a horror story. India is going to be a horror story. That it's ironic because they have our symbol, the wheel of Dharma, on their fucking flag. And like, if ever there's going to be a fucking Dharma accounting, it's going to be in India or South Asia. So, but anyway, it all works out. Like, Africa is a bit of a disappointment because Africa has a lot of environmental niches. The chances that somebody survives in Africa with diversity is there's a lot of diversity in Africa. So chances of survivors of the flipping being in Africa are quite good. As time goes on, they get worse and worse because everybody's being co-opted into the monoculture. They're becoming more and more of a Malthusian catastrophe. So yeah, that's sad. But yeah, it's but yeah. Anyway, you see how it changes things if we just put our cards on the table and say, look, the flipping's happening. I've been trying to break this to everybody gently, but I've just found I never learn that you can't be subtle today. But you can't do anything subtle. You can't say anything. You basically bludgeon people over the head. It's they don't hear you. So it's like, okay, well, everybody's kind of deaf. So it's you got. I think we should just start shouting about the flipping. And I mean, you can't expect too much. It's basically the first thing that will happen is somebody will come up with some flimsy lame arch shill who says, oh, and they'll do a debunking, like Carolyn Ripple's debunking of the Clathrate gun, which is, just pathetic. But that's most people will probably ignore us. But it's kind of a bit of the Gandhi. First they ignore you, then they fight you, then we win. But it's just from our point of view, is you just want to tell people what's coming, and so that they you can save a lot of misery because the interpretations of this it's going to be a very, very bizarre day. All the religious people are going to think it's the rapture. All the ufologists will think UFOs have arrived. It's going to be pretty Douglas Adams restaurant at the end of the universe. A lot of this looks like Douglas Adams. He was a very smart cookie. But everybody's going to have their different interpretations of what's going on, and they're all going to be wrong. So what would be nice is if people, thought up survival strategies and they were as diverse as possible. It's like, even if we all washed up, it doesn't, excuse the pun, but if it's all wrong, it doesn't really matter, because it's good for people to be confronted with their mortality. And every way you look at it, even if the system was reformable and the environmentalist dream is everybody would get a conscience and stuff, is, well, the shortest route to that too, ironically, is if people gave up hope and started getting in touch with their mortality. So it works from any point away. I can't really see a downside of telling people. You don't want people to be. It's cruel to let people, swan along in, thinking they're going to live forever, and then have them a big shock. They would say to you, I mean, if you're a doctor and you found somebody had cancer or something, you say, well, I don't want to spoil their last time on Earth, so I'm just not going to tell them they've got a couple of years to live. It's like, well, that would be completely wrong, because they're probably living a shit life, thinking it will pay back. They're working for their retirement, or all number of delusions that are never going to happen. It's all the transhumanists. I mean, God bless them. They're working for 100-year horizon. We only probably got like 10, 20. So it's like, and also it's not, you can't nail it. Like, it looks a bit like McPherson, probably McPherson's more right than wrong. It's probably about 2026. There's going to be a lot of action, but it's impossible to time. So, and that's a good thing, because you don't want people to time it. If you could time it down to the second, you get some very unenlightened behavior. It's kind of, but you see, if people know that they're heading for disaster, and they need to get out of this mindset, the Michael Mann mindset, that we still have agency. No, we fucking don't. We do have some agency. We can accelerate. So in other words, some geoengineering is good. I would advocate that we go and put sprinkle soot on the Greenland ice sheet to get it to melt faster. That's the kind of geoengineering you want. So, that kind of thing is good. But yeah. So yeah, that's what I think. I think we should go out on social media and start doing stuff after we've got the manifesto and we all agree on it, and kind of thing. And then we've got the Desiderata, so we can tell people how to behave, how we think what's the desirable behavior going forward, and we have exactly what we think on all these subjects nailed down. So we make sure our thinking is entirely consistent, and our policy on like everything from veganism to having children and stuff, and is all ironed out. And so and then I think it's worth panel beating it by exposing it to all the morons, because all the stuff they say will be predictable, and so we should cover our bases before we even start. But second, it needs to be kind of battle tested, that we need our assumptions challenged. So, I mean, part of the thing about just developing a manifesto is to try and disprove the theory. Try and prove ourselves wrong in every possible way we can. I've tried, and the more I try, the more it reinforces the theory. I just like see more and more just be wrong. But if you can, find a thing that says no, it's Hapgood was wrong, everything was wrong. It's like it's never going to happen, or it wouldn't happen in 1,000 years or something. It's like something like that. But yeah, I don't think you will find that. I think if you start looking at it, you'll see those things. But I'd certainly like to have a few theories on what it would be like in an Earth flip, what it is like to experience them, and other things. You might want to go put
It sounds a bit like what would happen if an asteroid hit. You're talking about volcanoes going off and big tsunamis, and it doesn't sound too dissimilar. And if for nothing else, this whole tactic will end up making us look very culty.
one of the problems.
And you can make like memes too, like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Flippening.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of going with the cartoons and stuff. I wanted to talk about those cartoons as well, but no, just in terms of the asteroid is so Graham Hancock and stuff like it, and those guys, they are mistaking the cosmic thing. So I just posted something from New Scientist there with on the KT boundary, the Cretaceous Tertiary boundary, where there was the biggest mass extinction of all. And then that's traditionally put down to be a comet. But the comet thing doesn't really work because the comets have these kind of micro diamonds, there's micro crystals and stuff that are clear things of spherules from a comet impact. And they're not really there at the Younger Dryas. So all the people that believe that the climate change of the Younger Dryas was a comet, so guys like Graham Hancock and a few others, Bovolt and those guys, they think that Göbekli Tepe is a warning that it's a comet strike. But it's why would they warn? Why would they put a time capsule in to warn people? I mean, what are people supposed to do about a comet? How do they know that the comet's coming back? It doesn't make any sense at all. And the evidence, so they find a little bit of evidence for comet things, but what the evidence strongly says is that it's volcanic activity. So the thing that I just posted from New Scientist about the KT boundary, it's seismic and volcanic, and it's a very big cold snap followed by severe heating afterwards. So yeah, it's the comet theory is, you see, what the comet theory doesn't hold up. But you see, so people don't know about the Earth flip, as soon as you know about the Earth flip, everything falls into place. And so it's hard to doubt after a little while.
Yeah, I read about you're talking about the dinosaurs going extinct, right? Yeah, I read about mass global volcanism in that one, yeah, and then the cold that came after. And it seems that they like put the comet on top of that story as well. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, like they say that the volcanism was happening and then the meteor hit in Mexico's Bay or something. Yeah.
Yeah, horseshit. Like the Gulf of Mexico is a comet strike. It's like that was Asimov. It's bullshit. There's no way the Gulf of Mexico.
Can I say something? Can I say something that's just coming to my mind there? Because I really like the way that Hugh, you adapting to where we were going, because for the last few weeks or months even, we were going nowhere. I agree. And there was increasing kind of frustration on my side, I thought, because we had invested a lot of enthusiasm and energy and thinking with XR. And so I think I really like the way that you just change direction. The wind is coming from another place. We follow that wind and we see where it takes us. And I think I feel my gods are telling me it's good. I'm I'm not a physicist, and I find it hard to understand everything about rotational bodies and stuff. So I'm trying to look at what you're saying. I've tried to look at that for the last 2 years, and I still find it difficult to. But I still think that we should not give up on what we were talking about: acquiring skills and sharing skills and building up, a good body and being in a healthy frame of mind, and also our spiritual side, because we need to prepare. Whether we're going to survive this or not, we want to be in good shape. And even if we dismiss permaculture and all these things as maybe a bad attitude for prepping, at the same time, if we're feeding ourselves well and we're doing things right, we're getting a good training. And if we survive, well, we're in a better place, But I really like the way that you just said, okay, this is not working, we throw it away and we try something else. And I like that attitude. And I'm happy to follow up on that, and give it a try, really. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
But Tom, were you going to say something? So somebody going to say something?
No, I was just concurring what Sophie said. Yeah, here. Yeah, well said.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of yeah, it's where I kind of wanted to go from all along. But yeah, I'm learning what's possible as things go. But yeah, what I want to say? Oh yeah, yeah. In terms of preparation, yeah, I think people have to have like a warrior spirit. So you you need because nobody really knows when it would happen. It's very hard to time. So I think in terms of like particularly doomers get themselves into a depressive rut, and it helps to think that a there's nothing you can do, and b there is you might be able to survive. That's more right size, changing the whole world and trying to get trying to do what XR is trying to do, and so it's all the jihadis and all the Muslims and trying to convert them to the right faith. All these massive undertakings. Rupert Reed and wanting to do a Manhattan Project to save the planet and save the civilization, and space, going to space. All these gargantuan delusions. It kind of makes it a bit more right-sized if you how do I squeak through this? Because that's something you can do as an individual. You could navigate this as an individual. And so I personally intend to. And so in the middle of losing all hope, you suddenly think, well, you've actually got a real task to try and survive this. The really wrong thing is to all these people that think, well, you want to try and preserve stuff. We want to try and preserve writing, and you want to try and preserve this civilization. You say, no, what for? It's like, on the other side of this, nobody's got any use for fucking writing. All the knowledge that we've built up, everything we know about science, hunter-gatherers don't need that shit. So it's all a big
Yeah, it always baffles me. That's so well said. It's the scale of it that people just. I just don't understand why people can't see that the scale of it is just impossible. Like you're saying, all these grand ideas, these grand projects that you would need to do, and then they still can't see that. What are you going to do? Like, if you were to achieve that, it's not going to solve the problem, is it? People just can't. Their logic is just so wedded to civilization. Basically, it's just the scale of it is just impossible to do any of these. Like geoengineering projects, all these things. It's just it's delusion.
Yeah, it's trying to maintain the continuity and permanence, but it's like, things decay and die in this culture, this is its time. It needs to go. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. You see, a lot of the stuff I've been doing is a little bit disingenuous, because just for a fact. So, for example, I actually love tech. I actually love cities. I love our culture. I'm sorry to say, I can admit to it. But um, the thing is that I always pretend that's not and be anti-transhumanist and anti all of these achievements that we actually achieved. But the thing is, they are, if you just accept that our time is just about ended, and certainly the civilization's time has ended, you can celebrate all these things. You don't have to do the nutty stuff where, say, AI is going to cause the rapture of the nerds and we're all going to be Homo Deus and all this really crap shit. You can say what we've done. I mean, it's mad. It's completely mad. From the Statue of David all the way to the atomic bomb. It's mad, crazy shit. No one should be doing this stuff, but it's been pretty amazing. It's astounding. It's incredible on so many levels what humans have done. And so, but it's now time to celebrate it and wave it goodbye. I feel, and so I think it's time to just be honest and say, like, I love it all. But it's a grand experiment we've done, but it ain't going anywhere. It's so anyway. If bar the flippening, it would we're still going to wipe ourselves out. We still might wipe ourselves out. You see, collapse is going to happen anyway, and collapse, as I say again and again, collapse is very likely to take us all out. So you want collapse to happen quickly. You want it to happen soon. You don't want this, geoengineering and all to run, and for every day that this civilization carries on, more people are added to the planet. The size of the catastrophe and the chances that anybody squeaks through are going down. So if Fawlty's looking for an unconscionable moral crusade, that's it. Is that, but he's inconsistent in his actions, because he's saying, like, well, we take over the government, like, great, and now what? Well, then you do citizens' assemblies. They all get advised by all these experts. And you say, well, the experts are all conflicted. They're all compromised. The science has all been bought. And so, they're going to get all contradictory advice. And where's a citizens' assembly going to land? On every single decision, it's going to do what's most comfortable for fat, happy, dumb cattle. And the public, you just look at the research. XR, all these guys, they refuse to look at the research that shows that actually the average Briton is far, far more conservative about climate change or any kind of green activity than the government. So the government is more radical on climate change than the electorate. So once the electorate, once you source people by sortition and put them into parliament, or a citizens' assembly, a revolutionary council, they're going to be worse than the government. They're going to be worse than your worst conservative. So all their decisions are going to be things for growth because you want the government in charge, you want them burning fossil fuels, and so we can get the flipping over with and get this madness to end. We want this civilization to civilize itself to death. So, reforming the system, austerity, green stuff is not good, because they just stay at risk.
Yeah, I think it's healthy. Every day now, I just remind myself that all of this is going away. And as you were saying, it's not that I sort of, it's a love-hate thing. Yeah, everything we've achieved is brilliant. It's amazing. The world we live in, all of the things we have. But it's good to just remind yourself that's going away. And as we've been saying, to just start restricting yourself. Last week I think I did a 12-hour fast. So that was good. And just start going without, you know. Last night I camped out in the woods. I did that again just to, I don't know, do something a bit different, just to start, you know, adding variety and chaos to the mix in our daily lives. I think we don't say enough about our psychology. We need to start testing ourselves, just doing without certain things or just mixing it up, just being random.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's really brilliant. I'm really encouraged by that. That's really nice to hear. But you know, you can go hog wild if you can fly all you want and just say, like, you know, tell people, yeah, I fly. It's like we need to add more CO2 so that we melt the green cap and start the flippening. It's like, because you know, the sooner this alcoholic drinks itself to death, the better. So it's like, yeah, go hog wild. You can do anything. Go party. Go burn carbon. Go, or you can go and be green and become a vegetarian and whatever. It's really very forgiving. once you embrace the fact that everything is kind of a vanity, yeah, it's, you don't really know. I mean, everything kind of works. You can't be a psychotic individual in Silicon Valley trying to climb up the slippery pole. It's like, yeah, whatever's. You got 10 years, maybe 20, and it's all over. So knock yourself out. Go do whatever you want. What I think what's really bad is people don't realize that the amusement park is closing, has a closing time. They need to know that it has a shelf life and it's very short. No, you know, maybe it's closing today, maybe it's closing in 10 years, 20 years. I don't think it's closing in 2100. In fact, in the earlier meeting today, I gave a timeline, and you know, that's just a guess. It's just supposition, but like this is happening very soon. So yeah, what this puts you, it forces you into a position where you look at all these things and say, okay, how close? But the problem is we don't know the exact point where the mass distribution causes the flip. So we just know we're getting there, and we're getting there faster, and that's all we really know. You can't time it down to the hour. So you know, you can't say, okay, when it happens, I'm going to make sure I'm in an aircraft. It's like, come on. The president of the United States is not going to survive the flip, because as soon as it happens, if it happened like tomorrow, he would go into Air Force One. Well, you know, all that volcanic activity and stuff is going to fall out of the sky, man. The aircraft's going to ingest all these fucking particulate from the volcano. Because Air Force One's going to ditch in the ocean. But even if it didn't, where would it land? I mean, you just fly around. You know, the grid's not going to survive. You see, this is really, really quite bad. The things, if you do a little Google about the Earth flip or something, what you'll find is the geomagnetic. You can't confuse the geomagnetic. Everybody knows about the geomagnetic Earth flip. Now, it gets complicated with the geomagnetic Earth flip because it's inconceivable that there isn't some, you know, some kind of dynamic in the Earth's core. The geomagnetism is caused by the flow of all these molten iron in the core. So that flow must change. There's evidence for a dramatic magnetic pole reversal at just the same time. They can see magma, but they can see there's been a pole flip during the time it took for the magma to cool. So in other words, in 12 hours. So there is geological evidence that there's some component is that magnetic pole flip. You don't want to dwell too much on the magnetic pole flip because it's a red herring. We don't really know the magnetic pole component and how it contributes, although you know that it must contribute. But it means that while all this flip is going on, you might have to cope with a lot of ultraviolet C, UVB and C, because you might lose the Van Allen belts. It might disappear and then come back again afterwards. All that kind of thing is a possibility too. Anyway, I hope I'm painting the picture that this is not a very good day when this happens. This is not. So,
but it's all the nuclear power plants going off, or some of them not being able to go back up and maintain with generators and whatnot. God, it doesn't bear thinking about. Really.
Well, you see, this is the kind of thing that I want to put in the manifesto, is because there's some things you definitely don't want done. So you do want people to punch out CO2. That's a good thing because it basically accelerates it. You don't want what's coming, and that's all these nutcases that are going to do nuclear. So we already got 410 nuclear plants. That's not going to be pretty. That's going to be a real problem. Those are going to be a serious problem for the survivors. So you definitely want to stop the nuclear program. If you're talking about monkey wrenching and stuff like that, you definitely want to stop those. Do anything you can to stop those, because those are, that's something that nobody had to contend with before. But I mean, just this idiotic Lovelock thing is like, boy, that I hope he dies soon. He's like his thing about we must all go nuclear. It's like, oh, you fucking idiot, just go and fucking die, please. It's like, you don't want to go nuclear. I mean, even if the flipping never happened, there was Lovelock saying Fukushima wasn't a nuclear accident, it was a tsunami. Oh, really? It's like, so they're not going to be any more tsunamis? It's like, no, it was a nuclear accident. The fucking thing melted down. Why? Because it got cut off from the grid for more than 72 hours. All those power stations, they melt down. If they've got about 72 hours of diesel. But those are nuclear power stations, they need electricity, ironically, to stay up. They can't generate the electricity they need to stay up. So in any kind of emergency with the grid, they shut those things down. But if the crews are not there, they will not down.
Yeah, he's an engineer, isn't he? He's a different generation. He's coming from the perspective of, we need to power the civilization forever, and the best way to do that is with nuclear technology, like sort of. But the guy is, I don't know what his. It's funny, yeah. He has gone down in my estimation, actually, in that respect. His earlier work was better, but he's talking about, we'll all live in cities and like termite mounds, air-conditioned cities and all this nonsense. And as well, he's a believer that AI, artificial intelligence, could cause us a major problem, similar to Hawking and.
Yeah, and he wants geoengineering and stuff. So it's like of the bad, string it out kind. Yeah, those kind of guys are dangerous. They're really dangerous, because ultimately they believe in the impossible, and that's carrying on with this civilization. So they're alcoholics that they're part of the problem. They're alcoholics that think they can carry on drinking with impunity. And saying, no, your liver's already shot. You're on the short haul. You're sclerotic. Just a basket case. Get your affairs in order and write your will. But anyway, he's inconsistent in his thinking because he came up with Gaia and everything self-compensating. Well, obviously that implies that our civilization will be self-compensated for by nature. Like, so look out. If there's an equal opposite reaction to, well, there's going to be an opposite reaction to civilization. And yes, what do you think pandemics are and the four horsemen? They're the hubris that the ancients were talking about, that these people got involved in. So yeah. We don't get a one-way trip to Homo Deus and Ken Wilber's Godhead and stuff, and it's like immortality, and it's like, read what they said, from Icarus to the Epic of Gilgamesh. They all said if you head down that route, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and you will wind up where you are trying to avoid. No one listened, so it's like, great, here we go.
Yeah,
be a fun ride.
Yeah, Prometheus had a good run, but now he's about to die of a heart attack.
Yeah, alcoholic poisoning. And the sooner the better. yeah. So yeah, so okay, so I did the sigil, I did the thing about saying we'll do manifesto, and then we can all debate it, see if we all agree. Yeah, then I made all these other subs. So I think I think we should try and set ourselves a target for the YouTube channel and for XRMed to try and get to 1,000 members. I think that Reddit is faking you out. The number of members there, I think, are fiction. I don't think they're really for real. But anyway, I think it represents more the kind of activity, but I think they're faking it. But
don't you think we should change the name? Don't you think we should
I
change
do.
it?
No,
Because
what I'm saying is we should try and get XRMed up to 1,000
okay.
as a goal, and then abandon it. So I've already started the Extinctionati sub, and then I did another one for the flippening is already taken. There's a user called the flippening, and that's about stock flipping. It's one of the one of the apes on on GameStop thing. So so you can't apparently make a sub with the user's name. So I called it the gyrate reset. So basically a pun on the Great Reset, because I mean this is the way I think about it. I think this we're going to get the Great Reset, but a much better one than Klaus Schwab's. So I thought it was a good joke. We use hashtag the gyrate reset and the flippening and earth flip and stuff like that. And then yeah, so we put all the earth flip stuff there. We put Extinctionati stuff in the Extinctionati sub. There's one for the Sirius Institute, the Neocortex Foundation too, which Hank started. But yeah, one other, yeah, I thought, oh, one more thing, yeah, the Elam Stark thing. So Gary didn't like the Elam Stark thing and thought it was kind of a bit too not a good use of time. So what do you guys think? Because I thought I should lighten things up a bit because I put a bit of stress on you earlier in the year and everybody squealed a bit, but I was gonna do an easier thing and make it a bit light. I don't know if anybody thought they were funny or maybe not. My kids didn't think it was funny. It's too harsh. My humor is a bit too harsh. They said, man, it's kind of funny, but it's like, man, it's dark. And so yeah, but I thought I could take that somewhere. It's a lot of work. It's about 2 or 3 days work, each one of those things for me. I thought if I carried on doing them, Elon Musk is a kind of cult leader. So I was going to start off taking the piss out of him and then develop the character into, maybe introduce the flippening into that. And my aim is just to take the piss out of transhumanists because they're not getting enough critique. Everybody just goes along with this cult. And it's like, man, just the thought of not thinking that Elon Musk is a genius is just unthinkable it's just absolutely unconscionable for the average dude. So Elon Musk is rapidly getting messiah status, and it's like, I mean, come on, the guy's a fucking snake oil salesman, and he's got the mentality of a 12-year-old, and he's thick as pig shit. He's just a grifter. But so I'm amazed nobody says it, but I thought I should say it. So yeah, just from the point of view of Team Human and against the transhumanists, then I thought I thought I'd see where it goes. But so then I thought it'd have the Elam Stark sub where I'd just put those cartoons. Maybe make a book out of them eventually when you got enough of them, assemble them. But what do people think? Did you think that Elam Stark thing, the comic, is crap or?
No, I like them.
I
love
thought it
it.
was funny.
They make me laugh. So, but I like that sort of dark humor, and now we'd have to use them in a how, in the context of the new direction with the flippening, you want to introduce
I'll
that?
get there.
Yeah.
I'll get there slowly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also depending on if anybody sees them. But I think we should start trying to popularize the whole thing and try and publish it more. And so I thought that kind of thing would be kind of good sugarcoating, a good entry. It's kind of like a trailhead into the ARG, right? But I think I put the sigil and the QR code on it, and then people could spread it around. But what I would like is after we do the manifesto, if we all agree on it, then then I would ask people to take ownership of things like Facebook and Twitter and stuff, and essentially just repost material from make Reddit, maybe the real thing that Extinctionati, but just take ownership of one of the things, and basically it's pretty much just reposting and just getting. But yeah, I think we must think of various ideas to do, like ask me anythings, and I think one of the things that we should do is to get in on the metaverse and try and pull people out of it. So in other words, try and be disruptive and try and fuck up Zuckerberg's metaverse. Because while they allow you to put in, I imagine until they realize that people how what shitbags people are, is they won't censor stuff. So for a while, you'll be able to be pretty subversive and tell people, you're in the matrix, get out. There's the flipping's about to happen. Don't waste your time in here. That kind of thing. But yeah, I feel terrible about the metaverse. Is like, first of all, it's the end of Zuck. He's gonna ruin himself doing. But it'll be popular for a while, and then it'll be a disaster. But I just, from so many angles, I feel bad about that metaverse, because it's like it's a shitty way to spend your time in the end times. It's a terrible way to spend your time in the end times. It's about as low as you can go. And anyway, the only way the metaverse is going to work is if because of porn. The only reason why the internet worked, by the way, is because of porn. The internet wasn't going anywhere before it got porn and the dark web. They write that bit out of the history books, but that's the truth. And the same with the metaverse. And unless he can't win, because unless he goes and makes it a porn hub, a virtual porn hub, is he's it's going to be a fad, and nobody likes virtual reality glasses and all this. Google Glass and VR headsets, and nobody likes that shit. And it's a horrible dead world. It's not very nice being in those worlds. So the idea that people are going to spend their working days in there, it's like crazy shit. It's not going to happen. And so it'll have a bit of a fad, and then it'll become either a porn thing. And if he goes down the porn route, he's finished. His whole thing is based on stock market credibility and stuff. And if he goes for porn and stuff, it's basically, he's doing a Ponzi scheme. He's doing exactly the same thing as Elon Musk is. It's a Ponzi scheme. He's taking government money, subsidies, using the subsidies to pretend that he's the future, and with space and electric cars, and then going to the stock market and selling it on there, taking in suckers. And so, yeah, it's a huge success because there's a lot of money with nowhere to go. But Zuckerberg's in exactly the same position. He needs to show growth, and so he has to. So he'll do all right for a little bit, but then he's going to really struggle. There's like Africa and China and stuff is not going to be in the metaverse. So he's going to have worse and worse stockholder meetings where he tries to explain how he's desperately going to get the numbers up. But if he goes down the porn route, he's finished. Wall Street doesn't like porn. And so that'll be the end of him. So anyway, you're seeing the last days of Zuckerberg. But I would say though that we should get in on it, because it would probably be the Wild West for a little bit. And so just eventually they'll start censoring it, like YouTube and all of that. But before, I mean, Zuckerberg's stuck because if he cleans up the porn and makes it PG, it will fade. And if he goes down the porn route, he won't be able to do his. So, but in the meantime, there's probably a lot of scope for subversion and being scurrilous inside the metaverse for our purposes, and so I think we should dive in and put scurrilous things about the flippening in there. Yeah. Alrighty.
Yeah, it would be like that scene from The Matrix where he's like, "Buckle up, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye."
Yeah. No one wants to live in the Matrix, man. It's like, come on. It's like, it's a nightmare. You would have to sentence people. maybe that's where maybe that's the cartoons I can do for Elon Stark is that Zuckerberg finds that he can make money with basically with the prison industrial complex where they sentence prisoners to the metaverse. but it's straight out of A Clockwork Orange. It's basically you should the only people in the metaverse will be strapped to a chair with like matchsticks in their eyes, being forced to interact. Unless your company says you got to get a jab and get in the metaverse, it's like no one's going to do it, man. Come on, you'll go and have a look. You'll be like, "Oh, this sucks." That'll be the end of it. But we could use it for a bit. Yeah. So okay, so that was a few things. Yeah. So that's my plan. If everybody's okay with that, then I'll go ahead and start writing up the manifest.
Yeah, Hugh, I wanted to go over the sigil. The sigil. So you'd want us to make our own sigil and our a ritual, our personal. So personalize it for ourselves. Is that right?
No. So this is for an investing ceremony. So investing is okay. So when it's magic with a K. So it's Lionel stuff basically. So when you make a voodoo thing or a sigil or something like that, you have this process of essentially bringing it alive and investing it with psychic energy. So the thing is to do a ceremony, where an investiture ceremony where you kind of breathe life into it, like God making Adam out of a clay or something like that. So go and have a look at ceremonies and stuff for investing symbols and stuff. But yeah, we're talking doing a magical ceremony. Your local priest would not approve. But yeah, does anybody know how to describe what investing a symbol is?
I do something like that in my life on Halloween. I have a wolf shrine that I light incense to, and I beat a drum for a little bit, and then I meditate, and it's hard to explain. Like I sort of astral project myself as a wolf for a while, and then I come back. So it's sort of like sort of like Queequeg's little wooden idol, except I use it to like meditate, and it's like to my totem animal and stuff. If that makes any sense, I wonder if that's what you sort of mean, or
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, like do a magic circle with an enneagram of candles and dance backwards 3 times, saying some mumbo jumbo, and then sacrifice a goat, and then that kind of thing.
Yeah, you could look up the sort of pagan ceremonies and sacrifices.
No kidding. This is about
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
There's a
Don't
there's loads of resources. I listened to an interview with a guy, a bit like what Divine Beast was saying, and he does a similar thing. He is actually a modern day pagan, and he had different amulets and God, like statues of things that he prays to, various pagan deities. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, so go and ask Lionel what it, if you want. But it's basically some ceremony to enliven this. It's basically you summon okay, the symbol. Oh shit. Okay, gonna have to go here. The symbol actually conjures forth some kind of a demon, right? So it actually represents some force in another plane or another dimension or something like that. By so you summon the force behind it in a kind of magic ritual. So you don't be surprised if you get a bit gaslit. Weird shit can happen. But anyway, just take it as a lot of fun. But yeah, so I wouldn't prescribe something. I wouldn't say let's all do this or do something together. I think it's a lot more fun if you go and think about it. If you go and look at other things, try and figure out. The more time you invest in this, the better. So if you think about it a lot, you go and do some research. You go and see what the meaning of it is, what you think the whole thing is about, and then if you make a connection, that's golden. If you can't suddenly find, hey, this reminds me of something in my childhood. This reminds me of, there's some aspect of some religious thing that you already have. Anything that has meaning to you, say, wow, it's something. It's this. It's that thing my mother wore around her neck or something. You just say suddenly that would be it. That would be the connection. Then you develop that into some kind of ceremony, and it could be as simple as anything. I already have something in mind. I mean, I'm going to do something really boring and just make a sacrifice to Poseidon, because that's what sailors do. So you make a libation and a sacrifice to Poseidon. So that's.
Can I give an example of the research thing? So a while back, I had a dream about it was this silver serpent coiling around this phoenix. And so I hit, for like a few weeks, I hit Google trying to figure out what the heck that symbolized. And I found these Greek gods, Phanes and Nyx. And I'm like, that has to be them. That has to be them. The serpent is Nyx. She's not some crow. It has to be. Because the serpent sometimes is feminine and it represents change. So it totally makes sense that something like that shapes light, like space shapes light. So it's my mind was blown after that.
Yeah, I'll admit something to you guys. I have this little thing with POTUS. So Pontus, not Pontus. POTUS is the president of the United States, which I also have a thing with. Maybe that's the reason. Pontus is a very, very ancient sea god, the most ancient, and there's very little evidence, but it's. I mean, Pontus is older than Greece, and Pontus has always has haunted me. The very first time I saw Pontus was in a Roman mosaic in Italy, and yeah, that's. Pontus follows me around. I have a strange relationship with Pontus. But Pontus is the god of the sea, became Poseidon. So yeah, me and Pontus, sort of pals.
Oh, that's
Anyway,
so cool.
when I die, I'm going to be looking Pontus in the face. I'm pretty sure Pontus is going to be coming. But yeah, that's a bit of personal revelation for you.
I think it's a good idea to use also our dream materials, because we're bringing in something very deep into these sort of things, as you said. And I mean, I know I'm having a wealth of dreams with fantastic creatures, and I mean, I'm in a super cinema at night now. It's just I don't want to wake up because there's so much, and I'm going to dig into this fantastic kind of images and creatures that I'm seeing. Definitely, I think it's very the dream. Yeah, we must bring our dreams, because we are establishing an egregore here. We're kind of connected in a funny way now after after 2 years. And I'm sure we're going to find some very interesting things emerging from all this.
That's so cool. Yeah, I would recommend, make it out of modeling clay, carve it out of wood if that's your thing, or draw it yourself and, leave it under your pillow at night, see what you dream, hang it on your dream catcher over your bed. Yeah, put it in your pocket as a lucky charm and just see what happens. See, you want the thing to talk to you. It'll tell you. But yeah, and the solstice, I think, 21st of December, cool. Just think up something. Yeah, look, you don't have to go mad. You can just do some shit. Just put it on video, and then just we'll post it. We'll post it the day after on Reddit or something, whatever. Post a video for what you did. But I think it'll be nice. I think it'll be a nice thing to do.
Oh, I thought of another thing that'd probably be good for me to do. I could probably see if I can get the symbol big enough for me to like sit on as like a mandala during my meditation.
Yeah, draw it in
Yeah.
chalk on the ground. You see it is a mandala, by the way. So it's not a
Oh
very
shit.
complicated mandala, but you can draw it. You see, the Hindus would draw it on the ground and then meditate on it. But yeah, I was going to say something that I'm going to regret. No, I don't know if I should say this. So
Well,
if
it's
you were
quite
tantric, if you were tantric, you would get this. You would go and put the symbol on it. You would go to a graveyard. You'd put it on a grave, and then you would meditate with it. But that's the tantric.
We also just after full moon, and the next one will be just 2 days before the solstice. So because we're talking about tides and tidal things and all that, we're going to be on a nice time for doing these sort of things.
I caught a glimpse of something that there's a lunar eclipse. So the lunar eclipses, I think, continue all through now and for weeks. But apparently there's the longest lunar eclipse ever. So it's kind of special too. So yeah, I think that's an ongoing thing. But yeah, it's a special time.
Well, after the meeting that I listened to this morning, when you were describing, and it will hopefully be posted soon on the sub, but paying attention to to natural events and to clouds, sea, sun is becoming very important now. I mean, so it's always been important. It's just that our attention has been diverted from these signs, and this is a great time also to encourage this through the new direction we're taking, like to divert our attention away from the metaverse back to the universe.
Yes, so the death part of it is also transformation and rebirth. So the wheel is also part of transformation. You can see that wheel, the circle or the cross. It's actually a solar disk. It's the spinning wheel. So Venus de Milo, by the way, her arms are missing, but she's almost definitely spinning, and she's all over the ancient world. The very first artifacts that they find is spinning wheels, basically bobbins that women use for spinning. And the reason is because they thought that Cybele, Kali, was spinning the world, spinning the sky. So they thought of her spinning like a woman spinning thread,
Weaving the threads of fate. Weaving the threads of
weaving
fate,
the
right?
threads of fate. Yeah,
The red
exactly.
threads of
Exactly.
fate. Ah.
Yeah, exactly. So that wheel you will see that wheel on those spinning wheels. You can see them in Greek museums. The Antikythera mechanism has that. You can see it on the Mithraeum. In the Mithraeum, on the reliefs, you can see it. We just made a tiny modification. In essence, just superimposed it on a swastika. But probably don't want to be too public about that. But hopefully it's subtle enough. But it's a solar wheel, so those things are sig runes, and they're everywhere. They're fucking everywhere. I mean, the keystone in Greece is the famous keystone symbol. It's a swastika, and it's just fucking, you can't get away from it. But anyway, you should go into all of these things. Go into the Phoenician TEF, and until it basically looks meaningful, and then go and express that. Kind of solidify that in some kind of communion and ceremony with it. And look up the date, the solstice, because there might be all sorts of interesting convergences on this year's solstice. Yeah, but as for a turning point, yes. This December 21st is as good as it.
Well, it's just like, I think it was last year around December 21st, there was that Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, right? Where
Yeah, I didn't look
Kronos
up this.
fighting.
Yeah, I know that 2020 was a big deal. I don't
I saw
know.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, 2020. So yeah, I'm not sure I haven't looked up what's big in the sky on that, but it must be symbolic. I'm pretty sure there's some shit going on. Can
Yeah,
feel
it was Saturn and Jupiter, so it's just like the battle between Kronos and Zeus. Yep.
Uranus is the one to watch. Yeah, I wonder if Uranus is involved in this. Anyway, lots of exciting homework. So yeah, I think that covered everything I wanted to say. If I can't think of something, I'll remember for next time. But yeah, I'll do another cartoon, and then I'll get started on the manifesto and try and get it out as soon as possible so we can start talking about it.
Oh, is it possible? Can we post like examples of ceremonies like, on XRMed if you don't like?
Yeah.
They want to.
Yeah, the only thing the only thing I think is nice ideas is to make it personal. So so you don't want to make people think, overawe them or make them think, but it's good to discuss things that you find would be nice. But I would say keep what you're going to do secret in case you screw up somebody else, make them self-conscious about what they're going to do. So I'd say we all keep it secret. But refer it to Lionel. If Lionel comes out, Lionel might come up with some really interesting stuff, and then I would share that. Yeah. But anything you find about the date or the sigil or something, put that up.
Is Lionel okay? Is Lionel okay to get private emails from us like that? Would he be open to that, or have you told him?
I never asked. But I mean,
He might.
It's only an email.
If we don't tell him,
you probably have. He knows that we're doing the symbol, and you just tell him. So he's seen the symbol and he likes it. So if I just say you're a member of the Extinctionati and you want help with your plan for investing it, and tell him we're doing it on the solstice, and then that should be enough. It's the mouse that spins. So if on the mailing list, it's the mouse that spins. But if you want his email, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me giving you his email to ask. So if you want it, I'll give it to you. Ask anybody that can see the mouse that spins on the Extinctionati mailing list.
Sounds good. I want to invest some time into it. Make it good for myself.
Meditate on it. Try and see it in the phosphenes in front of your eyes. What Divine Beast said about actually doing it as a mandala, just drawing it on the ground and sitting in like lotus position and meditating.
Yeah,
Not a bad
because
job.
it's like if you draw it, it's sort of like doing a Nordic rune. It's like casting a spell. Yeah, I don't usually talk about this stuff because people think I'm fucking nuts, but yeah, I really do think that stuff works. I do it. You can cast spells. Yeah.
In terms of runes,
They work.
the
I can
arms.
guarantee they work.
In terms of runes, the arms on that on the sigil, they actually the thorn rune. So you might want to look up that too. All right. Well, plenty, plenty, plenty of nice, lovely, juicy shit. Hey.
Yeah. I could probably show you guys the sketch of Fonny's and Nick's I'm doing really quick before we go if you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. See, how do I do this? Okay, there we go. All right, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's faint.
It's still very early days, but yeah. She'll have wings too, but I haven't drawn those yet. Wings are kind of hard to draw.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. It's like Osiris. I mean Horus. Yeah, nice. So yeah, we should also think about monetizing all of this. We should make, what are those fungible tokens or something? Blockchain tokens. Maybe I could do the comic stuff and make. What are those tokens called? You know, those Ponzi scheme tokens.
Oh, do you mean the images? Oh yeah, like oh flipping hell, I can't, it's gone from my mind as well. What is it? Damn it. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, all the artwork that's becoming, that's gone into a huge bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, you can make pretty good money off of art.
We should.
Huh?
In fact, I would like to try a whole lot of things, like maybe doing a GoFundMe to try and do geoengineering with a Greenland ice sheet to sprinkle, soot on it and try get it to melt to accelerate the flipping. Well, that should make people pretty excited.
NFTs. That was it.
NFTs.
Non-fungible tokens. Yeah. I'd say that's more of a realistic thing than the getting involved in that metaverse shite. I mean, it's
I just want to be anarchic and disruptive in the metaverse. Just.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I guess it's so early days in the metaverse. I just kind of think how much is actually going to be going on there initially. Is it worth it? But I mean, I have no idea. You could well be right.
I think people will crowd in there at first. They're not going to stay long, and I don't think it has staying power. But it should. Everybody's going to go in there just to have a look at some stage, so you can put some scurrilous shit in. I'm sure.
Did you try to put some of your cartoons on some of the subs, like art transhumanism, or those kind of weird places where those guys worship Elon Musk? No.
I just thought it would be funny to stick it on the Elon Musk sub. I put it on there. I got in lifetime Insta ban in about 5 minutes. They
It's
hated it.
it's one of those, they can't take a
And
joke.
you're not
I mean, if you need proof of cults, there you go.
Yeah, no, I told me off his boat just because I said Elon Musk is an idiot. He was like, "Whoa, my God, this guy's a therapist." Sophie knows who he is.
blasphemy, blasphemy, blasphemy.
Infamy, infamy. Everybody's got an infamy. Well, yeah, I was just floored how, a guy in his 60s can, be so childish.
Well,
Yeah.
swaddled billionaire that probably never had to struggle for anything in his life. You don't
Oh
really
no, this guy
mature.
struggled. No, this
Oh, he
guy
did?
struggled.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, this guy struggled. Yeah, the thing that touched him off was he's very funny about money, and he gets all his self-esteem from money. And so the thing I think it came up with, I said, like, no, he's an idiot. And he said, like, how can he be an idiot? He's a billionaire. And I said, like, what? You don't honestly think there's some correlation between how much money you've got and how smart you are? And that's what ticked him off, because he's obviously his whole life he's been based on the fact that he's been trying to prove how smart he is. He's obviously got insecurities about how smart he is, and he's been spending his life trying to prove to the rest of the world that he's not dumb by how much money he's got. So by extension, Elon Musk has a billion for every IQ point. So he's Elon Musk have a
Overcompensating.
300 IQ. So, but anyway, Sophia, do you think that my analysis is right? I don't know.
I think so. I think so. For the little I know about him, but yeah, I think so. I think it's right.
Oh, it's
But I think you should try to post some of those drawings on subs that are less worshipping than Elon Musk one. But just to try to create a little disturbance. Then it might be you might be banned or it might be erased. But it can. Some people it might just, I don't know, because some people don't question this guy. Some people
well,
don't want to.
well,
Well,
part
I
of the
think we
reason
could
is, I was just about to say, like, billionaires are like the modern pharaohs, that's how people kind of see them. So it's hard to expose their humanity in a way. It's like, no, they're just people like us. They're just really rich. They're just,
no, they're more than pharaohs. They're messiahs. They're becoming, as are people's eco anxiety and the doomerism sense, is they're looking for Elon Musk to, save us, to take us to Mars and stuff. It's getting really creepy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's no, it's serious. Anything that has an interest in Elon Musk, you're going to get a ban if you put things up there, because I can't find anybody that's disillusioned with these guys. I mean, like Russell Brand, maybe that kind of crowd. But then there are not many people that are, these guys don't get any criticism. In our culture, you don't criticize billionaires.
Email one of them to Russell Brand. You never know. Just throw it out to him. See, it's copyrighted, so.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah,
For, I
images are
think
powerful.
Faulty knows Russell Brand, actually, I think. Anyway, yeah. 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 We should write thing now. And so, all right. Well, if that's enough, then we should round it off. All right. So, yeah, let's fall still. Damn, I can see the sigil already in the speeds. I'm not kidding. There you go. Wow. All right then. So yeah, meditate on that and see see what comes up. Whatever comes up, put it aside and carry on meditating. Just keep on seeing what comes up. Don't get fixated on any one thing. Just let the passing parade go. And think of it kind of like a cornucopia of mystic, strange phenomena, and a kind of a portal into a whole new world of things you've never dreamed existed. You're suddenly opening up that portal and getting into contact with who knows what. Embrace it. Don't get too gaslit. Om Paramatmane Namah. There we go. Yes. Well, have a very flipping week, and I'll see you next week if the world is not upside down, or the right way up. I think the world's upside down now. So all right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Take care during the week.
Yep. Take care. Tie yourselves to the mast.
Do it the right way up. Okay then. See you, everybody.